So we're talking about alternate picking, but more importantly, we're talking about a principle that is extremely effective. And I promise you it is. It's not just hype, and there are really ways of increasing the tempo with which you develop on this instrument. We're like in a hypnosis across the world when it comes to learning, because we just do whatever we learned to do from the teachers we had, and we got all kinds of brain science and stuff going on out there that we can use, principles we can use from other areas of life to really make twice as much progress, 10 times as much progress in some cases, depending on what you're practicing. We're talking about increasing the amount of challenge, making it much harder than usual in order to get more progress, which is the counterintuitive way of going about it. When you start practicing guitar in the beginning, you are, through a process where it gets increasingly harder. And that's fine in the beginning because you struggle with everything. So you don't want to pile it on right there. But once you get to a certain point, you want to stop this little comfortably practicing something that is just a little bit harder than what I know already. And you want to say, okay, let's make it twice as hard. And then you amp up for that challenge. Then you really hit it home. Once you return to what you thought was difficult before, it's going to be poof, gone. The challenges will disappear, right? So, but when it comes to alternate picking, there's one more thing we can do, no matter what it is that we practice with alternate picking, and that is exclude the notes. This is super important. Why does that make it harder? Because now you can hear how bad you are at this technique, right? Because when we have more challenges going on at one time, we do more than one thing, right? We have the same example again here, just playing the 8th, 10th, and 12th fret on both the B and E string. If you just go, 3 notes, or let's say 2 notes per string, 8 and 12 on both strings, then because there are notes, that's why your brain is focused on that melody. It's not focused on how you pick. It's not focused on whether the notes come out even. It's not focused, we need to pick a focus, because the only place where you will learn something is where you have your focus. You can't learn anything. If you sit in a room and you're focused on the teacher and what he or she says, then that's where you have your experience. You cannot learn from the sounds going on over here. There could be music playing. You could hear somebody talk about music theory in a louder, voice or less loud voice than this over here. You can only learn where your focus is. The rest is just deleted from your whole perspective. So when we sit and practice and we play notes, we have our focus scattered all over the place. You're not really thinking about what you're doing with your right hand. Sometimes you are. You're not really focused on what you're doing with your left because it's all over the place. You need to isolate what you're actually freaking practicing, because that's the only way that the brain can say, what did I do? Did it go right? What do I need to adjust? Okay, let's adjust it. That's the learning process. A little loop. What am I trying to do? Am I succeeding or not? That's why my old basketball analogy again, if you're trying to put a ball through a hoop, you don't want to change the way you stand on the playing field or the court, whatever you call it, all the time. You want to make sure that what I'm practicing now is standing right here at this spot, and the basket is right there at this altitude, and I'm using a ball, and this is the same freaking ball every single time, so everything is constant, and then I'm practicing just this. I'm not confusing the brain with all kinds of little variations to the same challenge. You need to isolate what it is that you're practicing. So when I'm practicing this, I skip the notes and I go. See what I'm doing? I'm looking up suddenly. I was playing this and I had my eyes like this. The second I didn't even think about that. The second I go, I look away and listen. That happens automatically because all you're doing is one thing now. And what I'm listening for is not, oh, that sounds beautiful, right? I'm listening for whether or not the clicks that I hear are even. That's all I have, right? So 2 strokes on the B string and 2 strokes on the E string. And see, I'm looking out into it because I'm really sensing and feeling. Right? What happens? The least amount of deviation from what I want is going to be felt and corrected. Hallelujah. That's the way to practice with focus and where you get that loop of learning. This will increase your learning speed like 10 times just doing this. And if and it makes it much harder to do alternate picking because now you can really hear how poor you are at the technique. I'm not saying you're poor, but I promise you, if you haven't tried this, or at least 50% of your alternate picking practice is without notes, then you won't know what level you're on alternate picking wise. And that's just, just 50% of your alternate picking practice is without notes. What does the notes even have to do with alternate picking? We're saying picking, alternate, up and down. That's what we're practicing. Then skip the notes. There's nothing to do with it. But there's a little thing happening when you play without notes. The strings feel differently when you just mute the strings than if you're actually fretting them. So you need to also to blend it in your brain. To not, I used to practice like this for like months, right? And then when I return to playing actual notes, the strings are moving up and down slightly, which influences your picking depth. And they just feel differently. This string feels different than this string. So you have to go back and forth, right? Just introduce some notes once in a while. When you do the non-note practicing, you get 10 times the learning effectiveness when you practice alternate picking, I promise you. You put those exercises we had in the 3 previous videos in there, and I promise you this is going to be an explosive cocktail that's going to develop your alternate picking skills much faster than anything you can come up with. So amp up, put on some challenges, make it twice as hard, and then face the challenges, conquer them, and with focus and concentration on what is that you're actually trying to learn, then return back to the challenges you thought you had before and just see how much progress you make. It's amazing. Now, let's skip the alternate picking talk and let's move to another area of guitar playing. So please follow this series here. We're going to move to another area of guitar playing. Apply the same principle to this. So see you in the next video.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.